Marsha P. Johnson once said, and I quote, "History isn't something you look back at and say it was inevitable. It happens because people make decisions that are sometimes very impulsive of the moment, but those moments are cumulative realities." End quote. Marsha P. Johnson was a black, trans, bisexual, self-identified drag queen who was an outspoken advocate for gay rights and was a prominent figure in the Stonewall Uprising of 1969. Even though Marsha P. Johnson had made it clear that she was not present when the riots began, she was been credited for acting as a catalyst when she threw a brick at a police officer. For this episode, let's discover why the Stonewall Riots was such a prominent moment for LGBTQ+ liberation. I'm Smriti Sharma and you're listening to Protests of the Past. The Stonewall Riots, also known as the Stonewall Uprising, began in the early hours of June 28, 1969, when New York City police raided the Stonewall Inn, a gay club in New York City's Greenwich Village. As the police physically dragged staff and patrons out of the pub, the raid caused a brawl among bar patrons and surrounding residents, resulting in 6 days of protests and violent fights with law enforcement outside the bar on Christopher Street, neighboring streets, and nearby Christopher Park. The Stonewall Riots ignited the homosexual rights movement in the United States and around the world. LGBT Americans did not have it easy in the 1960s and the preceding decades. Socialization of same-sex relationships, for example, was banned in New York City. For these reasons, LGBT people flocked to gay pubs and clubs, safe havens where they could express themselves openly and mingle without fear. The New York State Liquor Authority, on the other hand, punished and shut down places that provided alcohol to known or suspected LGBT people, claiming that the mere assembly of gay was disorderly. Due to the efforts of activists, these laws were repealed in 1966, allowing LGBT consumers to be offered alcohol. However, it was still illegal to engage in gay activity in public, such as holding hands, kissing, or dancing with someone of the same sex. So police persecution of gay bars persisted, and many bars continued to operate without liquor licenses because they were owned by the mafia. The Society for Human Rights, or the SHR, was the first recognized LGBT rights organization in the United States. It was founded in 1924 by Henry Gerber, a German immigrant. They were forced to disband in 1925 due to the police raids, but not before they had produced 3 issues of their monthly Friendship and Freedom, the country's first gay interest newsletter. On September 21, 1955, the Daughter of Billets, America's first lesbian rights organization, was found in San Francisco. Members of the Mattachine Society, a homosexual rights organization, organized a sit-in in 1966, 3 years before Stonewall, where they openly revealed their sexualities in pubs, daring employees to send them away and suing places that did. When the Human Rights Commission declared that LGBT people had the right to be served in bars, police raids were temporarily reduced. The Genoese criminal family found profit in catering to the stigmatized LGBT audience, and by the mid-1960s, the Genoese crime family controlled most Greenwich Village gay clubs. They bought Stonewall Inn, a straight pub and restaurant, in 1966, rebuilt it cheaply, and reopened it in the following year as a homosexual bar. Stonewall Inn was listed as a private bottle bar, which did not require a liquor license because customers were expected to bring their own alcohol. To maintain clubs' illusory exclusivity, attendees were required to sign their names in a book upon entering. The Genoese family bribed New York's 6th Police Precinct to ignore the club activities. Without the intervention of the authorities, the criminal family could reduce expenditures as they saw fit. The clubs lacked a fire exit, flowing water behind the bars to wash glasses, clean bathrooms that didn't overflow on a regular basis, and edible beverages that weren't diluted down beyond the recognition. Furthermore, the mafia allegedly blackmailed the club's richer patron who sought to conceal their sexuality. Nonetheless, Stonewall Inn immediately became a Greenwich Village landmark. It was spacious and reasonably priced to enter. It accepted drag queens who were met with hostility in other gay bars and clubs. It was a nighttime home for many runaways and destitute LGBT adolescents who panhandled or shoplifted to pay their admission charge. It was also one of the few, if not the only, homosexual homosexual bars that still allowed dancing. Raids were still common, but dishonest cops would usually tip off mafia-run bars ahead of time, allowing owners to store the alcohol sold without a liquor license and hide other criminal activities. In reality, just a few days before the riot-inducing raid, the NYPD attacked Stonewall Inn. The raid on Stonewall Inn on the morning of June 28 came as a surprise. The pub had not been warned of this time. Armed with a warrant, police officers stormed the club, roughed up the guests, and arrested 13 people, including staff and those in violation of the state's gender-appropriate apparel statute. Angry clients and area residents lingered outside the bar rather than disperse, and people were brutally manhandled. At one point, an officer slapped a lesbian over the head as he dragged her into the police van. She yelled to the passerby to intervene, leading the mob to start throwing coins, bottles, cobblestones, and other objects at the cops. A full-fledged disturbance involving hundreds of individuals broke out within minutes. After repeatedly breaking the barricade, the police, a few convicts, and a Village Voice journalist barricaded themselves inside the bar, which the mob attempted to burn on fire. The fire service and riot squads were eventually able to extinguish the fire, rescue people trapped inside the stone wall, and disperse the crowd. However, the protest raged on for 5 more days in the region, escalating at one point after the Village Voice published its report of the riots. Though the Stonewall Riots did not initiate the gay rights movement, they did serve as a catalyst for LGBT political engagement, spawning a slew of gay rights organizations such as Gay Liberation Front, Human Rights Campaign, GLAAD, previously Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, and PFLAG, formerly Parents, Families and Friends of Lesbians and Gay. On the 1-year anniversary of the riots, June 28, 1970, hundreds marched through Manhattan's streets from the Stonewall Inn to Central Park, what was then known as Christopher Street Liberation Day. America's first homosexual pride parade. Say it loud, gays proud, was the parade's official chant. In appreciation of the area's commitment to LGBT rights, then President Barack Obama declared the locations of the riots, Stonewall Inn, Christopher Park, and the adjacent streets and sidewalks, a national monument in 2016. I want to end this episode by saying that LGBTQ+ rights are human rights. If anyone belonging to this beautiful community is listening to this episode, I want to assure you, hang in there. If you're in the closet, please only come out once you're absolutely comfortable doing so. And know that it would not affect you negatively, physically, financially, mentally, or emotionally. It may seem like the world is against you, but I promise it does get better.